Look at all these pretty fall colors. I'm walking Milo up to where I keep like the storage stuff for like my tack, like where my tack room is, like my little barn and the tie area. I've not really been bringing my horses up here, and he's the oldest and most reasonable, so we're gonna start getting them used to the process of being down there, because that's where I would ideally like to tack them, because there's a covered area, but it's quite a ways from their field. And as you can hear, he's kind of snorting and blowing a little bit because he's nervous. Still willing to eat, which is good. But yeah, so I want to get them really comfortable down here so that there's no excitement or shenanigans or anything, and that it's just easy. And it'll also help with the herd boundness. He's pretty good about leaving the herd. Like, he doesn't love it, and he's definitely more nervous, but he's not unmanageable. The youngsters have a harder time with it. But even just by taking them out one at a time for walks and getting them used to leaving, it helps all the horses get used to it, because they're getting used to the horses and the herd changing up and then leaving and coming back, and just getting used to the idea that they always come back. He's like, oh my God, they're all looking at me. Holy cow. So yeah, what I've been doing is just getting them used to having their friends leave and come back, and trying to bring the friend back after everyone in the herd has settled down. So if they're calling a lot, I usually try to wait until they stop calling and lose interest and go back to doing what they were doing before, like eating, and then bring the horse back, so that it's not like more reinforcing when their friend comes back. Like, that's the only time they can relax. I want them to learn they can relax without having the friend come back. So this is my general plan for dealing with any herd boundness and nervousness to come this far away from the field, because they are still settling in here, and when I first moved everyone, I wasn't really taking them out much at all. I've only started doing that recently, so it's a little new, exciting, and frightening for them. So what I've done is I bought an alfalfa mix hay, and they don't usually get that rich of a hay. They just get like a lower quality local hay that's not as high in protein. So I'm only feeding them this hay when they're down here, and they're just getting it on like a flake by flake basis. You can hear how nervous he is. So that they have something pleasant to associate with being here. And alfalfa is also better at coating the stomach and helping with any like stomach sensitivity from the acid buildup or anything. So it's great for that, but it's also just like a special little treat for when they're down here to make it a little less nerve-wracking. So I'm just going to give them a flake every time they come down here. They get to eat it alone and not be bothered by other horses, and just chill. And I'm just going to work on his feet. So this is basically the equivalent of like the Artemud hoof paste, but I made it at home for way cheaper than what Artemud charges. So basically what I do is I put it on his feet, mostly in the frog and thrush prone areas, and it just prevents thrush, and it also can kill thrush if they already have it. And it's just good for the overall health of their foot. Like if they get any bruising, it helps pull heat out. It can help pull abscesses out. So it's really great. And I'll just show you what the foot looks like after I put it in there. So this is his hoof with the clay on it. It stays on pretty well actually, and it'll dry like into the little nooks and crannies and still be in there when you pick out their feet several days later. So that's really good. And then I just reapply it as needed. He was being such a good boy, and then some dickheads on the road lit off some firecrackers and made a bunch of noise really close by because it's Halloween tonight, and it scared him. He was really good about it, but less of a positive note to finish on because he was so quiet the whole time. But I didn't know there was going to be fireworks, so I couldn't pull him out of there in time to avoid that, so he got a little scared, but still handled it really well. And then next time we'll come down there and hopefully there'll be less action. We hate people that do fireworks. He says I'm nervous. It just makes noise. It's not fun. I know, is it okay? Milo's so popular that they all started running to meet him halfway, but now he's going to them. There he goes. Fall is one of my favorite seasons because of all the leaves and stuff, and then like with the dark sky and the contrast when it's like sunny out, I love that. But we don't see a lot of sun here in the fall, so that's a little bit of a drag, but I'm quite happy with where my horses are living this fall, because even though it's gonna get muddy, like it's already getting muddy here, you can see we've actually had a substantial amount of rain, and I think the sheer amount of space they have will make it easier to keep the paddock and everything half decent. Like there's some water building up over there already, so I'm gonna get kind of a taste of which areas are gonna be the muckiest. So I'm getting everyone's dinner ready. I've started feeding everyone except for Harlow and Gala out of feed bags. It's really limited resource guarding during feed time. Harlow eats the most out of everyone, so she can't have a feed bag. It would be too much weight for her head to carry, especially with her pole sensitivity. They all just eat beet pulp. Sometimes I give Harlow soaked alfalfa cubes. I didn't have time to soak them today because they take longer to soak. And then she's also getting black oil sunflower seeds for weight gain because she needs some more weight. She's a harder feeder than everyone else. And then they just get their Mad Barn supplements. So yeah, then everyone peacefully eats. I pull Harlow out of the field to eat because she eats more than everyone. Gala's getting her own feed bag soon. I just ordered her own. I wasn't going to use it initially because she was afraid of it, so there's just no point. I just needed an immediate solution for these guys because she's also less of a bully at feed time. But yeah, it's been working really quite nicely, and it makes sure that everyone gets their own supplements to the exact dose, and it's just a lot neater and tidier. Yeah, so some of them eat way slower, like Pistachio and Pogo are always eating last. But it works because they can annoy each other a little bit, but they can't steal food. And that in itself has limited the resource guarding because I think they've realized that like no one can take their nose bags away. So they don't feel the need to protect their food to the same extent. Like you can see Pogo's definitely annoyed with Banksy, but Banksy's not getting anything out of trying to take his food, so it doesn't bring anything to him. And then this little hay feeder I built, I got some of this extra large size pallets and then just kind of drilled them together. And I have like these parts twined on because then I can open it if I want to, like if I put another round bale in to roll it in because we don't have a tractor, or I can just throw squares over it into it. People might find my channel more boring now than they would have like 5 years ago because I'm jumping less and whatnot, but like my horses are literally living their best lives. They're just vibing. Like look at Milo over there. He's just grazing and eating some grass, and they've got so much space to move around, and they're way happier. Watch what this little bugger does. Watch. Okay, just wait for it. Because I don't have the gate latch because I'm standing right here. He's not a cribber. Watch what he's doing. He's pushing it open so he can escape and eat the grass. You bad boy. So now I'm taking Mr. Banksy down. He's not gone down all the way to the barn yet, but I've walked him down this way. He is one of the more popular guys of the herd, so he's missed more and they call for him more, which I think contributes to his anxiety a little bit. And he's also, of course, a baby, and I've not been doing a ton with him recently, so. You're so handsome. So yeah, when I'm walking him down, I let him take his time. I let him look at things. If he wants to nibble on a bit of grass, that's fine. I don't try to rush it because I want him to be comfortable with being down there. Hi, Phoebe. So yeah, the reason why I don't rush him in walking down is because my goal isn't just to get him down there today. It's to make it easier for me to take him down there for days to come. And by rushing him, I wouldn't achieve that. I'd be giving him more reasons to be uncertain and nervous. And since his friends don't love him leaving, it adds to the whole thing because he's more nervous because his buddies are like, "Where are you?" And they're calling for him when he's going away from them. But then he's also having to travel to a new area, which is a little nerve-wracking because this is a property he's not explored very much of. So we're making it pleasant because I want him to be brave and not question following me in the future. And in order to do that, I have to be the type of leader that is worth following. And I wouldn't be doing that if I was scaring him and overwhelming him when I was asking him to follow me. So yeah, if my goal was to get him down there really quickly today, I could achieve that by pushing him really hard and making him go, but then he'd be more scared to come down next time. So I'd be extending the time it takes me to get him okay with being down there. So it wouldn't be quicker in the grand scheme of things. Plus, the other layer to this is that we should pass the other herd of horses who finds him very interesting, and they all come flying over, which adds to his level of anxiety. So another part of this is getting the other horses on the property used to the fact that he's new and he's here and that he's going to be following me down there and they're going to have to see him and that it's not that exciting. And it's also getting him used to the fact that if they come running, it's totally fine. The other thing to remember is that I know there's firecrackers lit off earlier today and he would have heard them. So that's another trigger that would have stacked. Plus it's windy right now. So there's lots of smells blowing in and trees making noise and all that stuff. So yeah, the nice thing is I only need to take him out for like 10-15 minutes, and then over the course of a couple of sessions he's learning that first of all, I don't take him out of his threshold of comfort to the point where he feels like frantic, and then secondly that he's always coming back to his friends, and then his friends who don't like it when he leaves are learning that they can self-soothe with and without him here, and that he also always comes back and it's oftentimes not that long, and then gradually I can extend the duration that I'm expecting without stressing anyone, and in doing so I create lasting behavioral change rather than just doing something and having it be an issue every time or every third time or whatever. And that's what I kind of have done within training Pistachio as well, and like getting him started under saddle, which is why he's so easy. Like I could go in the field and jump on him right now and he wouldn't care, even if he's not wearing any tack, because it's not been a source of stress for him because of how I've worked with him. And that's what's good about these short sessions and not pushing them too hard, because while you might not be moving as quickly immediately as what people who are willing to push harder do, you get more lasting behavioral change because the horses are comfortable with what you're asking them to do and they're never insanely stressed. Every time you make a horse insanely stressed, you have to work overtime to kind of undo that association. And if they're insanely stressed every time they come out and do stuff with you, then all they're really learning is that training is going to be stressful and scary. And that makes it really hard to make them feel safe and avoid those flight behaviors because you're giving them a reason to feel the need to flee. And also another perk of keeping it lower stress is that when you take them out with you, they actually want to keep coming out and they actually like hanging out with you because it's not inherently stressful just to be around you. And when it's not fun, then they don't really want to be caught. They don't want to come out with you and they're nervous. He's going to try to take my hat. Guaranteed. He tries to like consume this thing. It's so weird. And like honestly, of course I want to start doing more with them and like prepping like Banksy to be ridden and getting Pistachio further along under saddle, but it's counterproductive to try to rush that in the moment because all it'll do is set me back long term. So I'm doing these little sessions and I'm trying to take them out more frequently throughout the week to get more for what I'm doing, because then there's more repetition. But I'm still doing sessions that in theory to a lot of people it would look like I'm not doing very much, but it is causing the lasting behavioral change that I'm looking for, because if I can get them to be calm wandering down here to new places and get them used to exploring things and not having it be scary, those behaviors will start to transfer over when I do all sorts of other things with them. And it's just going to make my job easier over time because stuff like show venues and stuff isn't going to be as inherently stressful for them, and I can minimize or completely eliminate a lot of stress behaviors that you would otherwise see in those settings. But I can only do that by keeping them comfortable as they learn. So yeah, right now I'm mainly working with Banksy, Pistachio, and Milo, Harlow is having some time off, and Pogo is as well, because I just don't have time to get both of them into work. I'm planning on starting Harlow back into work soon, but just haven't had the time yet, and Pistachio is more important. Plus, I just enjoy riding Milo more, so I want to get him rehabbing and ready to go. And I just want to prep Banksy better for hopefully when he gets started under saddle sometime in the near-ish future, and just get going more on him, because he's sat for a while too, because I haven't had time. But yeah, look at all these beautiful fall trees. I love days like today where there's like some sun, because like we had a big drought, so I can only complain about the rain so much. Like, it's definitely been too much rain all at once. It went from 0 to 60 right quick. But I just love the days where we have some sun and you can see like the bright colors of the trees. It's like one of my favorite parts of fall. So I know this probably isn't the type of like tutorial on herd boundness that people were hoping for, because it doesn't promise like any instant solutions. But this is the type of tutorial that'll actually bring you lasting solutions, because a lot of what people do to fix herd boundness actually gives horses more of a reason to be herd bound. For example, one of the main suggestions that I see is people are like, oh, if your horse is herd bound, don't put them out with other horses. But in essence, what you're doing is teaching them like, holy crap, I've got to savor every second I have with the herd, because I could be ripped away from them at any point forever and then have to live alone. So it has the opposite effect, because you're conditioning them to feel more frantic when they are away from the herd, because they get to only spend fleeting moments around their herd. So it's not actually productive, because horses as a species, they're a herd animal. Like, they're meant to be herd bound. Like, it's a species specific trait. You shouldn't get herd animals if you don't want them to behave like one. So removing your horse from the herd as a solution of solving herd boundness, it might temporarily solve it, but as soon as they have like contact to horses, they're going to get that frantic behavior, because you're actually conditioning it by making it traumatic to be away from the herd, and also making it a novelty for them to be around other horses. The key to fixing herd boundness is teaching them to feel safe around you, similarly to how they would feel safe in a herd, and gradually starting to expand the envelope of what you ask from them when they're away from their friends. So starting off slow, and it can be as simple as like, with really herd-bound horses, it can be as simple as like me literally taking a horse just outside the gate, like within touching and seeing distance easily. Because if they're already calling and frantic and pacing at that point, moving further away is only going to increase that level of stress. It's not going to solve anything. So I'd start with something as simple as that, and just have their friends standing right outside the field, like eating grass or something, and maybe give the horse in the field a snack that they can go to when they calm down. Stand there and wait for them to settle, and then just put their friend back as soon as they start to settle, because then they're starting to relax before the friend goes back. So you're not reinforcing the idea that the only time they can let go of that herd bound stress is when their friend is immediately beside them inside the field. You're getting them used to the idea that they can self-soothe and that their friend comes back regardless, without having them escalate that anxiety to such a point where it's getting really, really excessive and super, super intense. Or even like for horses who are really herd bound, sometimes they'll start calling and panicking as soon as they see a halter go on one of their friends. So in that case, you don't even have to leave the field. You can halter their friend and then just stand there until they get less worried, and then take the halter off and leave. Like, it's these little things to kind of stop them from getting as up before it gets to a point of anxiety where it's a lot harder to bring them back down, and not have it be where they only really let go of that anxiety when their friend's back. Because the problem is, if you take a horse away and you have a herd bound horse who is panic and pacing the entire time their friend is gone until you bring them back, then every single time you're conditioning that type of stress by teaching them that the only time that they can let go of it is when the friend comes back. So the key is to try to keep it within the parameters where they'll start to let go of their stress before their friend has come back immediately into the field to being like let loose in the field, and bring their friend back right when they settle. Don't push it too long, keep it simple, and then gradually expand on it. And I promise you this will work. It'll have lasting results in a way that you won't see with the Rushy McRusherson method. Because I've tried to do the Rushy McRusherson method for like decades of my horse career practically. And it's only been in like the recent like last 5-ish years that I've really started to like adapt the way that I've done things. And the reason why I've changed so rapidly, like even within like the last 2 to 3 years, is because of how well it works and how much safer it is for me as a trainer, but also how much safer it is for the horse and how much less stressful it is. Like, there's really no point in stressing yourself out to the point where you have a herd bound horse who's constantly freaking out and just trying to tough it out every time, but ultimately not having it make that much of a difference. So that's why these little steps are really, really good to do. I got a really good deal on an older Circle Y Western saddle recently. I haven't tried it on anyone. I hope it does fit someone and that I can ride in it soon, but we'll see. So I'm really excited about that because I wanted a Western saddle and it was a really good price. Yeah, so this is going to be where the tack room is. I have like a ton of organizing and putting up of hooks and whatnot that needs to be done, but I was planning on making this like a tie/cross tie area and a tack room. So yeah, basically that's what I've been up to with my horses. I'm planning on filming a new Meet the Horses video soon so that I can update on all my horses and like who I actually own now and what the plans are with them, but I just haven't had time to finish filming that yet, but that'll be coming soon. I have a bunch of stuff on the go, so there's gonna be a lot of big announcements in the near future, including a book announcement that I'm pretty excited about because that's been like a lifelong dream since I was just a wee little child, was to get a book published. So I'm really excited about that. Also, I have a bunch of little projects that I'm working on, including making my own slow feeders, like slow feed hay feeders. So I'll show you that. So recently I got these hockey nets and I'm just gonna take off the net and then the frame is gonna go be recycled. And then these fishing totes that I got, like they're for transporting like fish in, so they're like insulated. I'm gonna drill a hole in the bottom so that it actually drains, but I'm gonna attach the nets to this and basically do like a trap door, latch door, so that you can throw like several hay bales in there and then close it. Yeah, and I got the hockey nets for free, and then the fishing totes were all really cheap. These little trays are for growing my own fodder, so I've started doing that. I'll post more about that once I have my first batch completed. So yeah, I have a bunch of do-it-yourself stuff on the go that should be pretty cool and should help people save money on building feeders and whatnot, because it's kind of all just an experiment on my part to see how well it works. I don't see why the fishing totes wouldn't work, especially if you get a few that are in better condition than the two that I got. So I figured, screw it, why not show you the fodder production that I have so far. Okay, so this is the container that's like the furthest along. These are all barley sprouts. So this one will be ready to feed pretty soon. I'm going to let it grow a bit taller. This one's less far along, so it needs to grow quite a bit more before it'll be ready. And then I have all of these ones, which are like, a lot of them are the same distance along, so they still need several more days before they're able to be fed. But I'll go into more detail on it in a video that I'm actually going to dedicate to this, but I recommend looking into it. Like, you can look it up yourself if you're interested in maybe doing this for your horses. Just look up like how to grow fodder for horses just to get a basic gist of it, or wait for me to post a lengthier video on it because this is just like a first time trial. So these are ones that I just started, like they've not even started sprouting yet, and then obviously these are the ones that have started sprouting.